This is January the 9th, 2020. I'm with the Vancouver UFO Meetup group. This is our Zoom with 9 of us here. This is the beginning or the second of what could be a weekly series of Zooms, meeting Saturdays at 11 a.m. on Pacific Standard Time. Just a day before yesterday, I was talking with Mimi, the organizer of our meetup. She's busy with things in Mexico, so she couldn't come today. So she says hi to everyone. I also want to thank her because she introduced me to Crystal. Last week, we had an 8-hour Zoom, which is a record for us. And Crystal is an experiencer in Parksville, Vancouver Island, got in touch with Mimi. They corresponded, and Mimi asked her to invite her to her meetup. So Crystal was our guest last week, and I talked to Crystal last night on the phone for hours. She's having further visions about the future and messages from the Greys. So maybe she plans on coming back and talking to us. So more about that. And just an hour ago, I spoke with Ian Haling in the UK on Skype. So he just had to work today, had some stuff coming up, so he couldn't join us. So he just wanted to say hi to everyone. Good. Yeah, so for my talking portion, what I'll talk about is actually I wrote out a page and a half sort of essay that's been on my mind, and I haven't published it yet. I have a friend who edits my writings that haven't edited yet, but I just thought for my talking portion I would just discuss this. I don't know how to do it in share screen because it's on my other computer, and I'm in my bedroom now because when I'm at home with my roommate, I don't like to make a lot of noise in the living room. So now I'm with my laptop in my bedroom. Anyways, because of Jeff Selber's influence in the last year, I've taken more seriously this idea of a Federation of Planets. I first heard about this around 2009. I've been seriously immersed in ufology since 2006, and I founded the Vancouver UFO Meetup in 2009, previous incarnation. But I never really took the idea seriously. I thought it was just a fanciful projection from Star Trek fans. But Jeff has convinced me that this is real. So I wrote some notes here. We'll just discuss. It won't take too long. So. When we do strategic planning, we begin with the premise that the whole purpose of the exercise is to reorganize and reallocate people and resources to increase the rate of return of what we have. So invariably, this is done by emphasizing some areas and de-emphasizing others, by allocating more resources to areas with higher potential return, by taking resources away from those areas that represent lower potential returns. So by developing or promoting newer and better directions, by discontinuing those efforts that are negative or less fruitful, the people involved with it can channel their resources to maximize a more wholesome contribution to humanity. So I released about 20 hours of videos of Jeff on the UFO YouTube channel, which is linked below this video. So Jeff is the cause of me learning more about the possible reality of a Federation of Planets, which extends across our galaxy. So I have heard this from others in the field for years, but I didn't quite trust their channel sources, and I didn't study this enough to build trust in the idea. It seemed like a wishful projection, but now I'm convinced that Jeff has had many interactions with the Elder Gray, that she has been honest with him, and they are part of a galactic Federation of Planets, that they do want Earth to join it for the betterment of life on Earth and for the betterment of the Federation. So this is a big shift for me personally. So my understanding is that they've been working for about a century and a half to upgrade our genetics, to speed up our spiritual and physical evolution. They want to develop human beings' spiritual interdimensional capacity, which includes communicating telepathically. To them, consciousness means quantum dimensional consciousness, as Jeff has been told by the Elder Gray. So in this way, we'd be ready to join the Federation, and this could take a long time. So I buy into this goal, and I now believe this should be the absolute goal for humanity. From a Buddhist view, I'm a Buddhist teacher, and I've been a Buddhist for 30 years. The view of the absolute goal of humanity, of life, is enlightenment. But Jeff explained that the Greys he knows are like Buddhists. They're already spiritually advanced, and that is their focus and priority for themselves and for us. So this marries my Buddhist worldview with my passion to make meaning out of the ET reality. So this is now my direction in life. As a public figure with over 7,000 people a day listening to me on my BitChute channel. I'm trying to raise up my audience with me and direct them to this larger truth. So I suspect that the Buddha's Dharma is not contradicted by the Dharma that the aliens teach. The Buddha taught humans and devas. Devas are higher realm beings. I think there is a harmony between the Buddha's worldview of beings in the universe and the Gray's worldview of beings in the universe. So I'm inspired now to study Jeff's mystic book. Jeff said that the book contains a code inside that will help humanity. The book was downloaded into Jeff in his early days, about 20 years ago in 1993. And then he met the elder in 2016, and she told him to write it down and get it published. This is mysterious, and I plan to study it and contemplate upon it to see what arises within me and what dots it connects. So I have a paper draft that Jeff printed out for me. His priority is to get the book published first so that other people can read it, as many spiritual and Vedic concepts. On December the 11th, 2020, we had a UFO Meetup Zoom for 5.7 hours. And in the last part, we had a high-level discussion with Jeff, and he described more about the Federation and how they want us to be more spiritual. And the link to that I'll put below this video. The video is called, and this is on our Vancouver UFO Meetup channel, it's called Al Matthews, Planetary Management Gone Awry. Once we know this, everything will change. Part 7, question and answer, edited by Barry here. And here are some of its notes. Part 7, this is my favorite part. At minute 1 minute and 10 seconds, Jeff shares more of the profound insights about how we are already a part of the Federation in his view of planets since World War II. He says, people just don't know yet. Some governments have known this since at least the early 1950s. Why would they go to so much trouble for so long if they're just lying to us? Look how humanity is so violent. Why wouldn't the Federation of Planets get involved and intervene? So at minute 11, Jeff says, true disclosure will change everything. People think the government will tell them the truth, then they'll go back to their jobs and lives, but no, this will change everything. Yeah, so that's my my talking stick statement. So with this talking stick procedure on our meeting today, there's no topic, so you can talk about whatever you want. So the next person who speaks doesn't have to talk about anything related to what I just said. This is just what's on my mind. This is our freedom of speech. So yeah, this is current direction of my life. Like I've had I have 2,500 videos on my BitChute channel since 2011. A lot of them start off as Buddhist videos. Then I got into the New World Order, politics, history, all kinds of stuff. But now this is my whole focus with UFOs, aliens, and the Federation of Planets. So I'm 61 years old. This is my direction in life. It could stay this way for the rest of my life. We'll see. So that's my talking stick. So who would like to go next? Such a polite audience here. Well, I'm going to invite Mitzi. Mitzi, do you want to go next?
Thank you. I just got through speaking last night for 2 hours about UFOs.
Oh.
So.
Well, we've got all day today. Last Saturday went for 8 hours. I just had some breakfast and coffee.
Yeah,
so
yes, I have seen UFOs since I was little, and my mother was psychic, my grandmother was psychic, and seeing spirits and other entities as well. And I guess my thing would be one thing that I've learned in many different groups is that whatever you manifest is what you see. So there are certain groups and individuals that are not in a good way, and they attract entities and beings from elsewhere that aren't good. And then light workers like myself, or shamans like myself, or psychics, being in a good way, we can contact entities. I'm also involved with Steve Greer's CE5 group, the elite group that is Human Initiation Contact. And it's awesome. For me, that was an everyday thing. It's humbling that when I go somewhere and I see others experiencing these wonderful communications with these lovely entities. I come from, I don't know, maybe if I should describe a little bit about myself. I'm a shaman. I'm a Sami shaman. My dad's family came from the Arctic Circle. And our history is that when many generations ago. We were at war with another clan fighting for territory because we all have reindeer up there. That's how we survive in our culture. And it's an indigenous culture. And we weren't very good at being war. We were more like herders and singers, and we enjoyed life. And those that used to listen to us in the tundra singing our music were what we call star people. And these star people felt compelled to help us when we were warring with this other clan because we were pretty much getting slaughtered. And because we had such a good relationship with these entities, they came down to live with us. And we talk about that our first true leader was one of these entities. And these entities were pure energy. They didn't have necessarily a physical body, but they were like changelings and they could turn human. So they intermarried with us, mated with us, and that's where we get a lot of our gifts from. Our main language is telepathic. I mean, we have a verbal language, but we're very telepathic, empathic, and that comes from where we joined with the star people. So I guess I want to talk about what you have in your heart and how you communicate with others who are surrounded about you. Light workers, psychics, and shamans, we try to separate ourselves from the world because there's so much going on, so much going on. And I live in America, so you probably read in the news some of the stuff, horrendous stuff that's going on. And it's really hard because you know people that are on one side or the other. And we try to stay away from that to keep our energy so that we are communicating with those that aren't on this earth as humans. We know that there's entities that live here. I've communicated with orbs that said that they lived here before humans did. And there's different kinds of orbs. There's like spiritual orbs. There's orbs that are entities. There's orbs that are spacecraft. So, and a lot of different types of craft and energy that entities travel by. And I guess I just feel blessed whenever I have in contact with them. And I feel blessed when I see someone else that has contact with them. I'm all about lifting others up. I'm also known as an international writer, and believe it or not, I'm not known for UFOs. I'm known for being an international music reviewer. I didn't get involved with UFO until I met my husband, who was a Minnesota MUFON director, and then right after meeting me, he wanted more time, so he ended up stepping down just a step and put somebody else in that place. But it was a wonderful short time. He was murdered at a UFO conference, and so when I hear stories about people being murdered at a UFO conference, it breaks my heart. So I guess I don't know what else to talk about other than just saying a little bit about my story.
Yeah, how about, do you have any website people can find and talk about Grant Cameron and the Winnipeg Meetup, UFO Meetup? You're involved with them?
Yeah. Yep, I ended up taking over kind of all the electronic stuff and helping out with speakers and hosting, and now we've had somebody else kind of helping with that, and so we're a team. It's a team. And then I work with Starlight Group, which is a Facebook group. And my connections with Canada is I have family and friends all over Canada, but I used to spend my summers with my cousins in Fort Frances, Ontario, and I would go to Thunder Bay a lot. And then I met people in Winnipeg, traveled there to Winnipeg, and I was supposed to do a 3-month research for UFOs and paranormal, and then also write about the bands and and small businesses up there to promote them. And one thing that I learned about being a writer about music, meeting so many musical artists and singers, is that a lot of them have seen UFOs. And Grant Cameron just did a video about that. So, an artist, a lot of artists. You'll find that people that are gifted in that side of the brain tend to communicate more with other entities. So,
I learned that from Grant Cameron's video that a lot of musicians have UFO encounters, like John Lennon did in 1974. I want to ask you, do you think your genetics have partly alien genetics with your, is it like Inuit bloodline from the north?
yeah. And then my mom was also had some Sami in her and Celtic. And so from both sides of my family, I got the psychic abilities, and I'm also a healer.
Wow, I'm sure you have more to share in future videos. So tell us more later. Anything else you want to add? We got lots of time. There's only 8 of us here.
10.
10 of us here. Oh.
Hi, Mitzi.
So I do a lot of Zooms. I do 7 to 14 Zooms because I'm involved with a lot of stuff. I am retired, which means I have creativity to do whatever I want. So I just want to say thank you for letting me join you and for accepting me and giving me this moment in time to speak. So thank you.
I'd like to thank Mimi for creating this be organized this UFO meetup too. Actually, I spoke with her a couple of days ago about doing this every week or not, or every other week. We haven't decided, but so far we're doing this every week. This is good. Well, it's great to have you.
Hi, Mimi. Hi, Mitzi. This is Jeff Selver. Hi there, Mitzi. It's nice to meet you. I saw you on a video with Susie Hansen and on the UFO Winnipeg UFO. So it was really neat to. And so it's great that you're here. So I appreciate you being here. So it's really neat to meet you. Nice to meet you. Yeah.
Yeah. Susie Hansen got sprayed with a chemical that made her very sick. And when that was at a UFO conference, and she went home and was hospitalized for a really long time.
Yeah.
And at the same conference that my husband was sprayed in an elevator and went to the hospital 17 hours later. He died. I couldn't even get to him soon enough. So
I'm sorry. That's tragic. Yeah. Sorry to hear that. Yeah.
Yeah. So Mitzi, you done? Anything else? Should I move on to the next person?
Yep.
Well, hey, Jeff, you're there. Do you want to go next? We're doing the talking stick. You just joined us late. So welcome, Jeff.
Great. Sure. Thanks.
Yeah. So whatever you want to say. Yeah. I just mentioned you in my little talking stick. I was influenced by the Federation of Planets idea.
Awesome.
Maybe lower your camera a bit. Less headspace.
Last headspace. Yeah.
Just for the audience.
Oh, you're gonna see my dirty my dirty closet over there. Yeah. No, I don't know. I'm just checking everything out and happy that this is actually happening and people joined, and I'm so excited to see kind of new faces and people kind of coming in. Sunny, it's nice to meet you. I don't know you. It's great that you're here. Thanks for being here. And Julia, that's great as well too. I don't know you, so thanks for being here. Zach, great to see you. Barry, great to see you. Vanessa, great to see you. Mitzi, happy you're here. Steve, great to see you. And Rolf, good to see you too. So I think it's just great that this is happening, and yeah, it's just community. And I think that for us who have these experiences, it's great to get together because they're actually very isolating if you're not doing these things regularly. So I find I'm happy that you decided to do this. So yeah, it's just kind of like a social hangout. So it's really cool.
I want to add, Jeff, you influenced me with the idea that we could create more of a community of experiencers, and each could perhaps talk about their powers or give them a forum, like you suggested. Crystal could maybe teach telepathy. She told me on the phone yesterday, she was actually teaching this little girl in Parksville telepathy. But I discussed your idea with Mimi. Mimi was concerned about the security of the experiencers. Like if the government finds out about powers that people have, would that be a security risk? So I hadn't thought about this. So Mimi brought that up. And what do you think?
I'd say play until we think something up or until something happens. I mean, it's not like we'd be the only people talking about these kind of things in public. I think that there's plenty of YouTube videos where people are engaging in these type of content, but yeah, I don't know. People have to do what they're comfortable with. So I think right now there's no sense of threat or monitoring, and so I think people should just kind of do what they want. But yeah, and also like there's a weird balance, right? You have to put the information out so it gets there versus people being too scared to talk. And so I think that we should play until we feel otherwise. Yeah, that's my feel to that. But of course, people have to feel comfortable. If as an experiencer they don't feel comfortable kind of coming out, then that's valid. And also you can do them privately. I don't think we have to, well, maybe not. Can we? Yeah, we don't have to put them on YouTube, right? Like people can still have a forum with which they can speak, and then we don't have to put them on YouTube as well too.
Yeah, like this video is will be edited and released. This is not live, right? This is not live video, so we can, if somebody changes their mind, they don't want something out, we can edit it out. And I spoke with Crystal yesterday. She expressed a similar concern, but yeah, I'll talk about this with Mimi, our organizer, how she feels about it. But I understand your point.
Yeah, actually, Mitzi, a part of my inspiration is from the Susie Hansen video that I watched, and so I'm a dual soul. My being in 2016, before I even saw the word dual soul, told me that she was she was my dolphin twin. So that when she said dolphin, she was telepathic, and I knew it meant soul, and so my soul twin, and I didn't understand that, and then I saw her book and Dual Soul, and everything she says. I have like several contact events that match her contact event, so I have all these kind of similarities with her story, and her whole, she spoke at the end, and it resonated with me so much. She spoke at the end of that video that experiencers are the ones who should be talking about their experiences, not researchers taking experiencers' content. And the value that experiencers have in sharing their content is more valuable than a researcher interpreting it. And we need to do that. We need to be on board with that. We need to create a space where experiencers can actually explore what their experience meant and what it means to the society and what it means to the world. And so that's what I'm after. I saw that, I resonated with it. I'm experiencing that. I'm trying to give my content to people, and then but the reason I had trouble giving it to researchers is that who the hell would understand my experience? My experience is so crazy, right? Like Barry and everyone who's keeping up with it, like this stuff is nuts, and no researcher can interpret it. Only I can interpret it. And so what she spoke about hit me so hard. And I saw that. I saw a space where contactees can come and experiencers can come. And there are some websites or YouTube channels that are doing this. I think it's called iExperiencer. So there are people out there now who are trying to get experiencers and have to talk them about their content. And we could just do the same, and we could make it so, as experiencers, we understand the kind of more psychic, we understand the more data dumps, there's all this stuff, dimensions and all these things that we actually have experiences with as well. So we can validate and cross corroborate, which I think really adds so much more value to people's experiences. So that's what I saw. I saw us being able to create a forum where that can happen. And I'd rather do that than be scared to do that.
Very good. Anything else, Jeff? I mean, we're doing the talking stick. I thought if we have like 10 minutes each, that would be 2 hours for 10 people. If we go for 4 hours, you go 20. If people want to go 20 minutes each, that's fine, But anything else you want to add, Jeff?
No, happy. Be happy, have love, and be happy. Yeah.
Okay. I should also point out if people have time constraints, we should get you on now. Some people, I believe, like Steve expressed, he has to leave at 12:45. Does anyone here have time restraints? Let me know before it's too late. I could ask Steve. Why don't you talk since you have a time constraint? You want to go next, Steve?
Sure.
Okay.
Well, for those that don't know me, I've been an experiencer since my childhood. My parents were both experiencers. I'm originally from the state of Wisconsin, and at a very early age had encounters with even the Sasquatch and, of course, UFO sightings. So they sort of go hand in hand, it seems. And later through the years ended up in the state of Washington, southeastern Washington, which is the Walla Walla area, and being a downwinder from Hanford and the different things of the Tri-Cities, of lots of UFO activities growing up in that area. had sightings of UFOs during the day, night, and just different times, in other words, not just any particular time, because there's activity 24/7. And so I've lived a life pretty much where I was able to communicate and have interaction with my parents, being that they were experiencers, but as having friendships, somewhat limited, because you start talking about things of this matter, people a lot of times will shy away from you and go, well, you're a nice guy, but I really don't want to get into that, And so I've had to live with some of that. I guess you'd call it rejection, but I didn't care, because what happened, and I don't think in some ways I haven't made enemies, but I haven't at times even made friends, because some people just don't want to expand their view of life itself. And when you grow up like I did, with having things happen that were paranormal, like seeing orbs and beings of energy, and even elves. I've seen elves. They truly exist. And dimensional things and objects that appear. It gets to where, that's life. And it just at times frustrates me that people can't see or open their mind. Maybe they don't have that gift to see different things, but at least listen and not poo-poo everything, because so many things that 100 years ago they said it could never happen. Well, here we are today. It's happened. And it's been interesting, the friendships I've had through the years. A gentleman that you probably, at least some of you may have heard of, and that's Andrew Bashago, the time traveler. I know him personally. I met him many years ago, and we had some good conversations, and I've heard his circumstances that he went through growing up as a child and being basically a time traveler and being able to go through dimensional travel. So that was interesting. One of the things I found with this, when you have certain gifts and you have abilities to see things, is you sort of act, there's signals there. In other words, there's an energy that you radiate out, and others that are of the same mind, they get drawn towards you. And it gets to where I've had some great friendships in the local area here where I'm at. And of course, the meetups have been a way to expand my friendships and interaction. And it's just interesting, because we in Vancouver here, in Washington, we do have a physical meetup. Of course, right now we can't meet physically because of the COVID situation, but it's amazing the individuals in the local area here. And I believe, like Vancouver, BC, Vancouver, Washington, Portland area is a hot spot for everything from abductions to lots of different types of craft and things that way, and paranormal and ghosts. There's a lot of different activities that way. And of course, the Sasquatch in the local area here. And of course, they're seen basically throughout the whole world. And myself being an experiencer and having friends and family that have had experiences, it does help one get through life better, to be able to talk to someone, and these meetups are good therapy. I will say that for those of us that have been limited to our interaction with others. And as things go, it's not unusual when I've tried to keep a real balanced mind of the whole concept, because I do believe there's different dimensions. And I do believe that there's times when there's things that, because of the magnetic field of the earth and what's going out in space and the different kinds of radiations and energy fields, that it'll open up. Certain things will come in and out. And I've had experience one time, my brother and myself, which my brother sees and is experienced. He's an experiencer too, and his wife. And his wife's from the Philippines. And even over in the Philippines, of course, there's just about every place on Earth, if not every place on Earth, there's UFOs and different entities and spirits. Where anyway, with my brother's, when he first got married and his wife came to the U.S., they got an apartment, and in that apartment, they would have the shadow man come, as like you were talking about, Vanessa. And they in their bedroom, they had a nice sized bedroom, and queen size bed, of course, and it faced, they could see their walk-in closet. And this shadow man, which was very tall, had a fedora, black fedora hat, and a black, almost like a trench coat. And you couldn't really see his face, was sort of phased out. He would actually come out of there and look at him, come up, look down at him. And my brother told me about this, and I of course, I believe what my brother says. He doesn't make up things. Well, things changed to where he was able to get into a house, so he moved out of that apartment. And I was recently married, so my wife and myself, we moved in there, and we experienced the same thing. Dark man with the fedora hat, and came out, looked at us, and then you just turn around and disappear. So it just shows that it runs in families. And my ex, now the wife that I did have, she was an experiencer from her childhood and had interaction with the Greys, things that way. And then myself, I think that's why we got attracted to each other, because we could talk about these things. Myself, since my childhood, I can remember actually coming out of the womb, believe it or not. And I remember my mom holding me close to her and seeing she was in the car, and I believe she was in the back seat, and I'm just the little baby, right? But I remember seeing a craft that was a cube, and it had sort of a pink hazy energy from it, and it was white and blue light flashing. And one of the things that was unusual about it, I remember even at that time, because I was very perceptive of things, that someday I would meet a individual called, his first name would be Philip. And what's interesting about that is many years later, I met a gentleman that his name was Philip, and we were friends instantly. And he was also an experiencer. So it just shows you that sometimes, the time factors may be a good number of years, but there's a path to our lives, and there's a future there. And it's like even being where I'm at today, I live where there's portals that open up. I've seen all different types of orbs, different colored orbs. I've even had one of those nice, large, goldish, fiery, round orb that was probably I'd say at least 30 feet in diameter. It was huge. It was or larger. Probably was even a little larger. It actually hovered over where I live. Let me see that. And it was like this energy field around it, just and then it took off. But I've seen the thing. I've even seen the flying one time, because I used to live in Portland too, and I from Vancouver here. 8 o'clock at night. And this is on the east side of Portland, and there's our riverway, the Willamette River, and there's bridges on the west side, and I'm on the east side. Well, I live close enough where I can see the lights from the city itself and some of the taller buildings. And at 8 o'clock at night, and this was in October, and I believe this was 2000. Yeah, 2000. And anyway, I see this. It looks to me like a craft that we had built, probably coming from Boeing aircraft or somewhere up there, and it was like almost like a boomerang, no sound. It was sort of a puffy look in the front of it, and then it tapered. And the only reason I could see it is the lights of Portland were reflecting off it, and then it had a glow inside it, like there's some kind of energy glow, and it just glided over the Portland area. I thought that quite unusual, but knowing how things are. And then interestingly enough too, with things with Boeing aircraft, the same place where I lived, where experienced the Dark Man, and at that time my wife and I were together, a gentleman that lived in one of the other apartments was a senior crane operator. In other words, he'd go all over the Northwest here and set up these big cranes and do all sorts of structural and other type of lifting with the crane. And I asked him one time if he had ever seen anything or anything ever very unusual happen. That's a lot of times how you get people to talk, if they feel they can trust, talking to you. And he told me that he literally picked up a disc craft. He had a job up at Boeing. He got called up there, and he actually used a crane to lift up this huge disc craft. don't know for sure what that means, but knowing the back engineering that's gone on through the years of these craft, and a lot of experimental things, and of course the Pacific Northwest where we live, lots of different things have been seen day and night, and it's been just quite an experience. And getting to know others through these different meetups and personal meetings. Some of the actual accounts, I call them, because they're not really a story, they're accounts of what have happened to individuals that I've gotten even confirmation on sightings I've had. Where years ago, I had a sighting in 1964, and this was in southeastern Washington. And this was about 2 o'clock in the morning. I just happened at that time, being younger, of course, I like to sleep out at night. And of course, it was a beautiful night where the stars are all as pretty as can be, and just a very clear sky. And a UFO, actually, a disc-shaped UFO, actually went over. It lit up the yard, and it went out to where the fields are. And we have in that part of the country, there used to be, and there still is, wheat fields. And this thing, I could actually see it. It landed, but I wasn't in the situation at that time because I was too young to be driving. And I would have liked to have went out there. Well, 10 years later, I'm working at the VA hospital, and a co-worker there, we got talking about things, and I asked him, I said, you ever see anything unusual? You're an outdoors person too. And he told me back at that time, he happened to be outdoors at that same time. So that was confirmation on that sighting. And it was just like what you see in these movies type of thing. This big disc comes over and it's all lit up, and then it happens to land out in the field somewhere. And I also got confirmation talking to some of the guys that did the farm work. They run the combines and out in those wheat fields and everything. And they would tell me at times they would find circular burn spots that were about approximately 35 feet in diameter, and no apparent reason because they're way out in the middle of the field and everything. So anyway, that's sort of the kind of life I've had, and I just really enjoy meeting new people and hearing what they have to say and trying to keep a balance to things. And one of the things I think as an experiencer, we have to keep our sanity and don't put ourselves down at any time either, because our society likes to poo-poo anyone that talks about anything that isn't mainstream. And so just stay positive, and appreciate all you folks that come to these meetings. You help enrich my life, and many times I learn new things, and it's just been a real blessing. So with that, I'm going to say thank you for letting me talk.
But Steve, I want to ask you, have you ever
Yes.
gotten an impression about the Federation of Planets idea? I'm abusing my role as chairman of the meeting to pursue my own interests. Have you ever gotten any idea like that?
Well, I'll tell you something that was something I didn't bring up. That when I lived in Walla Walla, there was one time that I was able to see into a different dimension into the sky over that area, and I seen all different kinds of craft. And I've always had, that idea that there's the universe and there may be universes, and there's at least, I mean, when I was a child, I knew there was at least 11 dimensions. There's just something about, and there may be more. And so I do believe there's some type of federation or beings that work together. And why wouldn't there be? I mean, there's like a basics to the creation of all that are created. And if you look, there's similarities, but there's also uniqueness. And why would it be just that there's just this planet with us humanoids on it? Why can't there be other planets and other beings? And when you got dimensions, just think of all the different layers of things that can be so uniquely different, and yet there's the purpose, and the purpose is life itself. It's the precious thing. It's the precious thing throughout the whole universe. And anything that has vibration, which everything does, has frequency. And it's like when things are going the way they're supposed to, there's harmony. Everything is in a cycle and it goes through it, but it also stays in harmony. And it's not like shooting a billiard ball and wondering why it's hitting everything So anyway, to answer your question, yes, I do believe that there's some type of organization or federation of planets and beings.
Thank you, Steve. It's very interesting. Sure. I know it's Vanessa smiling there. She can come on next. You're talking about harmony. You know, Vanessa has some disharmonious experiences in her life and her daughter Sav, right? You want to come on next, Vanessa?